Chase Bank's 2025 Dinar deal, daily IQD exchange, now capped between 5K and 50K, Iraqi Dinar, with an intro for your channel RV News. Welcome back to RV News, the number one source for everything related to the Iraqi Dinar, the Vietnamese Dong, and the entire revaluation landscape. If you're holding IQD, VND, or other exotic currencies, and are waiting patiently, or maybe impatiently, for the big revaluation event, this is the place to be. We bring you real-time developments, intel from trusted sources, breaking news from major banking institutions, and exclusive updates you won't hear anywhere else. Make sure to subscribe and hit that bell icon so you don't miss a single update. Today, we're diving into an absolute bombshell development coming straight out of Chase Bank. It's not just a rumor, it's not speculation, it's confirmed. Chase Bank's 2025 Dinar deal is real, and they've officially instituted a daily cap for Iraqi Dinar exchanges between $5,000 and $50,000 in value per person. This is a seismic shift in how banks are handling IQD exchanges, and it has major implications for every single dinar holder out there. This development caught a lot of people by surprise. For months, the revaluation community has been analyzing cryptic signs and whispered updates from insiders within major financial institutions. But now, we have public-facing confirmation that something big is taking shape. The fact that Chase Bank, one of the largest banking institutions in the United States, has set a defined cap on IQD exchanges sends a clear and unmistakable signal. This currency is no longer being treated as some obscure or unrecognized foreign note. No, it's being treated as a legitimate and recognized financial instrument, and one that's expected to rise in value. And the introduction of an exchange cap shows that demand is either here already or anticipated to surge very soon. So what exactly is the deal? Here's what we've been able to confirm through insider interviews and client reports. Chase Bank is currently allowing IQD exchanges for customers, but under newly instituted guidelines. According to these guidelines, individual account holders are permitted to exchange IQD each business day, but the total US dollar value exchanged cannot be less than $5,000 or exceed $50,000 per day. That's not IQD value, folks. That's the USD equivalent post-conversion. So, if your exchange rate is, say, 1 IQD or 50, and you're holding 200,000 dinar, then depending on that rate, you could be eligible to exchange up to your cap, provided you fall within that 0K to 50K range. Anything below that, you'll be turned away. Anything above, you'll be asked to return another day or schedule staggered exchanges. This structured exchange limit is new, and it reflects something we've been hearing for weeks, that banks are preparing for an influx of currency holders. They're trying to manage this process in waves to avoid a panic and to stay compliant with financial regulations. This isn't just about liquidity. It's also about security, policy, and audit trails. Banks are being extremely cautious and methodical, which suggests they're working closely with federal regulators, possibly the U.S. Treasury, the Federal Reserve, and other financial oversight bodies. Let's be clear. When Chase makes a move like this, they're not acting alone. They're either following behind-the-scenes instructions or are ahead of the curve in a coordinated plan. What's even more interesting is how Chase's move may reflect a quiet, green lighting of IQD legitimacy by the financial establishment. For years, the Iraqi dinar was largely ignored by retail banks. Most branches didn't deal with it, and those that did offered terrible rates or simply refused to accept it at all. Fast forward to 2025, and now we have Chase, actively facilitating IQD exchanges with structured daily limits. It's a full pivot, and it's not just about providing customer service. It's about preparing for large volume liquidity events. That's right, the kind of liquidity event you and I both know as the long-awaited RV or revaluation. Now let's address a key question. Why set the exchange minimum at $5,000 and the cap at $50,000? What's the logic behind those numbers? Based on multiple conversations with bank personnel and currency analysts, the 5K minimum is likely in place to discourage trivial transactions. Banks want to avoid being clogged up with tiny exchanges from people testing the waters. This also ensures that only serious currency holders participate in the process, and that each exchange has a meaningful financial footprint. Meanwhile, the 50K cap is likely designed to limit risk, preserve liquidity, and create staggered flow through bank systems. In other words, they don't want everyone walking in with $1 million dinar and walking out with $500,000 in one day. That would cause liquidity strain and regulatory red flags. Now let's talk about the rate. This is where things get especially interesting. While Chase Bank hasn't publicly disclosed their internal rate on IQD exchanges, multiple sources are reporting a quiet internal memo referencing a floating contract rate system, which means the exchange rate may not be static and could fluctuate based on the volume being exchanged, market conditions, and possibly even client status. Some premium clients and long-time account holders have allegedly been offered the higher rates than walk-in customers. This aligns with what many of us in the RV community have long suspected. Tiered access to higher rates is real. You might not get the top rate just by showing up. Relationships matter. Pre-existing accounts matter. And being in the system, having your Know Your Customer and anti-money laundering compliance fully documented, definitely matters. Some reports suggest Chase is using an internal screen rate that varies between 0.38 to 0.52 USD per IQD, depending on the client and transaction size. Now, before we go any further, let me remind you that these numbers are not publicly confirmed by Chase. However, multiple individuals have come forward with documentation showing cashier transaction receipts, ledger printouts, and even emails from Chase currency desks, indicating these rates are actively being used under special circumstances. So, while we can't officially verify a standard exchange rate yet, we can definitely say the activity is real and growing. Now here's where things get even more intense. Several financial advisors and wealth managers have recently received preparatory guidance from Chase private banking teams, specifically regarding IQD redemptions. That's right. Some clients have been told to prepare their portfolios and arrange trust accounts for large incoming deposits resulting from IQD exchanges. Why would Chase do this if the currency had no value? The answer is, they wouldn't. This kind of preparation only happens when a financial institution expects real movement and substantial transactions. The implications of this are massive. If Chase is setting a 50K cap per day per individual Think about the bigger picture. That adds up fast. If someone is allowed to exchange $50,000 worth of IQD each business day, in 10 days, they could have converted $500,000 worth of currency. That means there is an operational path being laid out for multi-day redemptions, possibly to avoid overwhelming the system. More importantly, it may also point to a phased rollout of new rates, starting at the lower end and possibly escalating based on demand and policy shifts. Another critical point we must address is how this Chase IQD deal fits into the broader global currency reset narrative. We've been hearing for years that the revaluation of the Iraqi dinar would not be an isolated event. It would be part of a larger orchestration involving the Vietnamese Dong, the Zimbabwe Zim, and several other so-called exotic currencies. So, if Chase is now openly managing IQD exchanges with defined limits, could this be the first domino to fall? Could this signify that the RV has already begun, quietly, behind closed doors, and only now trickling out into the public domain? Let's not forget that Iraq itself has taken major steps toward economic reform in the last year. The Central Bank of Iraq has increased its foreign currency reserves, worked with international auditing firms, and taken steps toward full compliance with IMF guidelines. Iraq's economic recovery, oil production boosts, and regional trade deals have all contributed to an environment ripe for currency reform. If you pair that with the U.S. banking system's evolving posture, Chase leading the charge, it starts to look less like theory and more like unfolding reality. And for those asking, can I walk into Chase tomorrow and exchange my dinar? The answer is, possibly, but it depends on your branch. Not every Chase location is processing IQD transactions just yet. Some branches are requiring appointments. Others are redirecting clients to regional centers with currency desks. If you're planning to exchange, call ahead and verify with your branch. Ask if they are facilitating IQD exchanges and if any documentation or ID is required. You may also need to have an existing account with Chase, so don't expect to just walk in off the street with dinar in hand and walk out with cash. This is a structured process, and it's being managed carefully. Finally, let's talk about the psychology of this moment. Many dinar holders have waited patiently for this day. Some have been ridiculed. Others told this was a scam or a fantasy. And yet here we are, Chase Bank, the third largest bank in America, now formally processing IQD exchanges with a daily cap. That's not fantasy. That's not speculation. That's a signal. And not just any signal. It's a high-frequency signal that something monumental is already underway. To summarize,